And it's that usual time on a Friday, folks, where we find out how things have been going in Canberra. And the one person we need to speak to from our Canberra office, we have got Hannah Phillips. G'day, Hannah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you going today, Clayton?
We're doing very well. All the best to the FlowNews24 team, yourself, John and Roger. I know you've been busily working. There's lots going on. But everything seems to be, from our perspective, bogged down in one particular issue, the accusations and the allegations surrounding what's going on with Christian Porter.
It does seem to be the thing that is leading the news. It's sort of that topic that I feel like I have spoken about at length, at nauseum.
Yeah.
We hear that word alleged come up continuously, and we've seen Christian Porter earlier this week actually deny those allegations. Obviously, we can continue to discuss it, but very, very briefly, there's been some news overnight that some of the information from that 33-year-old, case that was actually taken to New South Wales Court, it was then New South Wales Police, I should say, and then was withdrawn, actually talks a lot about the fact that there was a dancing night that happened at a Hard Rock Cafe. And the problem is that the Hard Rock Cafe didn't open until a year later. So there are some interesting holes that are sort of coming out in the testimony. And when we're talking about things that are 33 years old and these allegations are now just surfacing, it makes it really hard in one of these cases, and especially when the lady has actually passed away and isn't able to be interviewed by police.
That's one of the things that really annoys me about the troll by media, and we're the media, so we can sometimes be guilty of it. But the media out there, that they tend to focus on the sensationalistic aspect of this whole story, and then they don't let the facts get in the way. And we need to just let the facts come through and dictate where the story is going to go. But that seems to be the last thing on people's agenda.
Not really what seems to come up at the forefront. This story, I guess, is one that has been simmering on the simmering pot. And I mentioned this earlier in the week in discussions on Country Viewpoint, where I talked a bit about how we saw an ABC report that was produced that talked about Christian Porter and brought up other members of the Liberal Party and sort of started bringing up allegations there of sexual misconduct. But these were all just allegations, and the story sort of went nowhere, and you sort of felt like, well, what was this doing? And you realise as the story starts to continue that there was a lot of scuttlebutt, there was a lot of conversations that were happening, that there was more to it than just some allegations. And it was only until the ABC's lawyers really felt they could probably print the words that a member of the Prime Minister's cabinet had actually done something that was sordid or allegedly done something that was bad, that it actually came up. So It's a bit of a worry to see that this sort of information can get printed, that allegations can come up, and that even when the allegations can't be substantiated, when no one is able to say, well, something did happen or didn't happen, that we continue to push for someone's resignation. Now, there's a lot of push, especially on Anthony Albanese has come out and said that Penny Wong has come out and spoken about how, there's been serious allegations that they need to be investigated. I'm not sure what an investigation can actually achieve here. The information that would be required for the investigation would need to come from an independent inquiry into this. And then what would you find? You would have to investigate everything and come to the conclusion that we probably don't know what happened and probably never will. Christian Porter and this lady who has passed away, the only people who probably know the exact details of what transpired.
Which I'm starting to think, and I'm starting to wonder, and perhaps you can enlighten us further, Han, and this goes for both parties. Do the Liberal Party and the Labor Party, do they fundamentally have a problem with women? And can they actually find a woman to be a leader? Because I think both parties need a very strong female leader, one that has got a bit of charisma, but one that is also the public can engage in, and neither party seems to have one, in my view.
Well, it seems to be the way that we're seeing this idea that's come forward from especially the Liberal parties. They've actually spoken about that target of women, 50% of women in politics by 2030 in the federal sense. And I'm intrigued how we get to that target where we've got Nicole Flynn, who has just resigned and won't be contesting Peter Badco again from South Australia. And she's spoken about some of the issues that she has experienced in Parliament. And whilst her resignation was for personal reasons, I do think it's really important that it is acknowledged that she did really have to go through the grueling media attack on her for things like her wearing stiletto high heels. And I would say that Nicole Flynn, from a Liberal Party perspective, is actually quite a strong lady and is pretty direct, has a really good head on her shoulders, and then to see her having, sort of feeling like it was time to stop and not go forward, that's a concern. And then you have the case at the moment, really, the situation that we have going on right now, where Brittany Higgins' case is still sort of bubbling along in the media, especially in regards to comments that were made. And those comments have, caused more issues again for the Morrison government and his front line of women who are involved. So I'm not sure how we even get to those targets. Now, obviously, in the Labor Party, I think probably one of the front runners, and I've been saying this for the last few months, is I think that Tanya Plibersek, she probably is someone that has sort of started to step back out into the light, so to speak, and start speaking out about what she thinks. And we saw that running with Craig Kelly a few months ago, or a few weeks ago probably. It seems like lots has happened in politics since then, but there was that run-in in the halls of Parliament in regards to vaccinations. And that was actually aired and videoed, and people really warmed to Tanya's comments and actually were quite interested in what she had to say. But we're now seeing that a lot of the Labor Party women are starting to step out and starting to speak out. Senator Penny Wong has spoken. And so I think that there's women who probably can start stepping out and leading, but I think it really does come down to, do people want to now get involved in politics? After the last few weeks in politics, if you were a woman, I'm not sure how keen you would be still to jump on and get involved and share your viewpoints, because they might not be the viewpoint of the party that you're a part of, or they might be the viewpoint of the party that you're a part of, and it might be a bit easier for you to actually climb up the ladder, so to speak. But I do wonder what it means in the future for women in politics, because you're going to have to be very, very brave, very hard-nosed and unafraid of the trial by media, weather the storms, and be able to continue your portfolio and your leadership team not capitulate to the media's request for people to be sacked.
And all this accusations and allegations, it does seem to me to stop the governing that the country's going on. But there has been some good things that have been happening for our regions, Han.
There is good things happening in our regions. I pulled this article earlier in the week. It looks like in December quarter, the farm GDP grew by 33%, and most regional centres are experiencing the best time they've had in years. So we're seeing things like the sales of utes go up, and farm machinery has gone up as well by 8%. This is really good sign, especially when you start looking at, the landscape in Australia right now when it comes to the economy. It seems like our regions are chugging along really well. Now, you probably read this one too, Clayton. There was a story I read somewhere about people leaving Victoria. Unfortunately, there's been some severe lockdowns, and it would seem that people would like to sort of escape Victoria and have a bit of a different existence instead of one that continually goes backwards and forwards into lockdown, which was a lot of last year. What I noted was this, though, that the regional Victoria areas were seeing a lot of people, we're calling them tree changers, so young working families who are heading up to change their lifestyle, and they're going to be quite a big benefit for regional economies as well, which is fantastic. So there's some good news coming there for people if you're looking to maybe go out to regions. And I wonder, Clayton, if this is going to be a change in how we do business. I wonder if this could actually expand our regions and create some bigger regional centres.
I certainly hope so. It's what our regions do need. It would certainly help, and we've been talking about it in relation to local sport and the numbers that are needed. So if people are moving to our regional areas, and let's face it, right across the Flow network, we've got a vast regional area that we cover. There are some great spots, some great areas to live in and bring up a family and get involved in the community, play your sport. So I'm all for it. And I grew up in the city, but once I got into the regional areas, you'll never get me back living in the city, never.
No, I can understand that. It's a lovely lifestyle when you have people in regional Australia that you become friends with. and it's a community, and they become part of your extended family. The football and the netball clubs, they're a really big part of the hearts of these communities. I think when they do go through and look at how people are giving and how people give back in their local areas, they find that regional Australia seems to be places where people are willing to give more of their money, give more of their time. So I can see why moving to the region is a great idea. And I think it's going to be a really interesting change, especially coming out of COVID-19 and lockdowns. We've all learnt to work from home at some capacity. And so I think it's going to really change how employers actually employ people and how they actually get them working. And it does mean that you may be able to live in regional Australia and still have your job in the big city, but actually have the lifestyle of the region.
The best thing I liked about that story was that ute sales are going up, and I've been trying to talk the wife into getting a ute, and the evidence is building. We've got a very compelling argument to get one, Han, so you might need to help me too.
Oh, excellent. You know what, I thought we might better get you another Harley, but look, if it's a ute you're after, that's what we'll go for. All
right, Han, you have a wonderful weekend. You take care in Canberra and keep us up to date with things going on, and if we do need to know, we can just go to the website FlowNews24.com.au and also the podcast that we put. The podcast that we're putting up there as well. You have a good weekend and we'll talk again next week.
Thanks, Clayton.
And if any of the issues that Hannah and I have been discussing have raised some issues with yourself and you need someone to talk to, remember Lifeline is available on the number 13 11 14, 13 11 14. And you can also reach out to 1-800-RESPECT on their number 1-800-737-732. That's 1-800-737-732.